Good evening, and a warm welcome to everyone to this uh, session, the final session of this seventh edition of ET Auto Retail Forum. And as was mentioned, the theme is digitalization in automotive retailing. And as the overarching theme for this edition of the ET Auto Retail Forum is a new paradigm for dealers. Much of that paradigm is also influenced by this huge trend of digitalization, which has been accelerated to a great degree by the pandemic, and much of it again turned out to be a change for good, and we are all, as we know, have entered a digital era. So digital technologies touch our lives. It may not be out of place to say almost 24/7, except for the time when we are asleep. So there is digitalization everywhere, and digitalization to the level and scale like never before. And perhaps in some cases it's going to go even deeper. So in today's session, we'll keep the influence of digitalization to the automotive industry, and specific within that to the automotive retailing. So gentlemen, thank you very much for your participation. Really appreciate you taking time from your busy schedule. Some of you have traveled from outside the city to be part of this session. Really can't thank you enough for that. Really appreciate it. So just to set the ball rolling, just wanted to understand the key, the new digitalization trends in certain segments, because it's not as much as the technology cuts across. It's a generic, but the thing is, in terms of application, in terms of the use case, and in terms of the way it is being adopted and consumed, they're quite different, even in the automotive retailing, depending from segment to segment. So starting off, since in the automotive industry, there are a lot of, when it comes to technology, in any technology, not only digital, it's a top-down, it trickles down from above. And in many cases, and like we say, what was seen in luxury cars are now seen in volume segment models also. So in that, on that note, Naveen, there are two Naveens in the panel. I'm talking about Naveen Soni, who represents, who leads Lexus business in India. Now, your take on the trends that you're witnessing in terms of digitalization in the automotive retail, because one is, as I said, when you talk generally about technology, it's a trickle-down thing in the industry. Similar case in the digitalization also. But when it comes to the luxury end of the market, and especially a niche brand like Lexus, your brand pillars are quite different. Though you may be playing in the luxury segment, you take real pride and you want to build the lineage of Japanese culture. Much of it is to do with art and form and all. So perhaps the leveraging of the digital technologies, digitalization, could be a different story in your case. So just throw some light on that, and what are the new trends that you're witnessing?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for inviting us. I'm sure even you are from outside Delhi, as I know. I think this entire concept of digitization or digitalization or whatever name you want to give it was accentuated, like you said, during COVID times. But what our understanding was at that given point of time is that there was a traditional way to sell cars, and there is a new way probably coming to sell cars. From that point of view, people started comparing or benchmarking the various business processes, and then everybody came out and said, except for the test drive and delivery, everything else can be replicated online. And then you can start online stores, and everybody got into this rush of online stores. Just to put things in perspective, Lexus started its online store only last year, December, right? Basically because for us, luxury is personal. Luxury is something that cannot be witnessed without touch and feel, so to say. So these are things that have happened in the car industry. People normally tend to believe that digitization is equal to online stores, but there's much more to it, much more to it. You marry this with artificial intelligence, you kind of understand for us it's been a way of life. We've never gone to a customer, even if it is a cold call, to understand his business or her business before we actually end up at their doorstep. So there's a fair amount of research and understanding that happens before we end up at the doorsteps, or even if we invite somebody to our showrooms. Nowadays, there are tools and techniques which can tell you much more than what you would like your wife to do. ChatGPT is becoming very popular. I'm sure these are things that will dictate how we will do automotive retailing in the future also. From that point of view, one impact that is happening is, like you mentioned the term about experience. The experience can never ever be replicated online. And for that matter, when we go and meet physically with a client or a guest or a customer, whatever you want to call them, you need to know much more about them. That's a basic business sense that we have. With that, what is actually happening is, we have realized that the showroom real estate seems to be not required as much as what it was. Okay? And this is the one important change point, and the new showrooms that we have started to establish, I wanted to actually show a few of them here and ask the question, what is this? You would never guess that that's a car showroom. We have started car showrooms without putting the car inside now. All the new car showrooms that we are setting up, the smaller ones that we call as Mirakis, will not have a car inside.
Okay.
It'll be like a business lounge. You come there, you experience, because anything and everything that you want to know, put one query on Google and now on ChatGPT, and you'll get everything on the click of your button. So what is the role of the dealer? What is the role that people are expecting the retail industry to perform has to be crystallized now. From that point of view, we are downsizing the size of the new dealerships and making them into lounges.
Okay.
Just interaction space, so that can replicate whatever discussions that has to happen. The car has a role to play, I don't deny that, because that's the core business that you and I are in. But that can be taken out of the showroom. That's how we are viewing this. So what I'm trying to say as a nutshell is that a lot of things technology enabled will come into the space. A lot of interactions will be based on your understanding about the guest that you are dealing with. Every guest is different. No two customers are the same who walk into your dealerships. So obviously we need to know more about them. We need to tailor make that experience for them, and that can only happen, and technology is a big enabler for that. Yeah. That's my take on this.
As you said, no, tailor make the experience for your customer, and you also interchange that word, no, customer with guests. Yeah. So because no, you operate in that segment wherein no, a customer can also be kind of treated as a guest, or you profiled in. But perhaps though in the same business, but not perhaps it cannot be replicated in, let's say, a segment where a Kia operates. As much as you leverage some of the same technology, but in your case the dynamics are different. Could you share some scenario of how the digitalization trend is progressing? Because at some level, I mean, because this digitalization trend is becoming so it's becoming such a common topic of discussion, perhaps somewhere we are oversimplifying or generalizing the whole digitalization or digitization. But I think it's going much more deeper as things progress, as the industry becomes more disruptive, and with the emergence of concepts like ChatGPT, for example. Your thoughts, please.
Yeah, thank you, Sumantra. So basically, as a newcomer in the industry, so while it was a challenge to be the newer player and establish yourself, but I think there were some advantages as well. We were not carrying any kind of a baggage. So we started with the digitization from day one. right? I think before, and I'm talking about 2019, I think at that time still a lot of people were using papers and to give quotations or to give brochures physically. I think we started from day one where everything was digitized. Even when a consumer would come to our workshops, everything is on the tablet. So I think we had that advantage, and we used it to our advantage, and it really helped us in building a brand as well. Because when consumer was coming to our showrooms, he felt that there is something different. And that really helped us in also building the brand. And even in terms of our cars, the cars were connected. So connectivity, and in fact, we have sold almost 50% of our cars are connected cars. Now, of course, the connectivity has improved in almost all the manufacturers, but even when we started off, the connected car percentage was almost 50%. So
starting with the Seltos, the very first one.
Of course, with the Seltos, and also we were selling more of high-end cars, so the connectivity percentage even increased beyond that. And during COVID times, we need to raise the bar. So very importantly, we looked at, how do we connect with the customer? So we started a concept called DigiConnect, wherein you could showcase the cars to the consumer sitting at a different place. During COVID times, different members of the family were sitting at different parts of the country. So it was very important that how you bring them together, showcase the car, and they could make the decision. Because even after the first wave, people were still very apprehensive in terms of coming out of their homes and then coming to the showrooms. So what we could do through DigiConnect was people sitting at different locations, connect them, show them the cars in the showroom. So I think we went a step ahead there, and that people really appreciated, and they could get a real touch and feel of the cars even sitting at the remote location. So we could raise the bar there. And then we started, and then a lot of customers were not willing to come to the workshops even to get the car service because they wanted a contactless service. So we started, but they were apprehensive that what will happen to my car. So we started this concept of, track your car while the car is coming for servicing to the workshop. So they could actually track their car, so they were more confident about it. So we could see our pick and drop service almost went up to 40% during that time, which was earlier less than 10%. So that was another flip that happened in the way people were using these services. So these were some of the examples which I could look at, which really helped us, again, adding to our brand. But very importantly, improve the customer experience, wherein sitting at remote locations, they could, experience the brand and the digitization which the brand had to offer. And the recent example is basically the EV6. So we didn't have too many cars on ground where we could kind of give a test drive. And they were still in transit, and the launch was some time away. But we wanted to make sure that, when the cars come in, we don't hold the cars for too long. So this was a kind of a phygital story wherein we invited some of the journalists for a exclusive drive on the Buddh International Circuit. So they drove the cars, they built the stories, they all went online, and before we had cars for test drive or even people could see the car, we had booked more than 400 cars. So with a plan of 100 cars we had, and we ended up getting more than 400 bookings, and then we requested the headquarters, and we were lucky enough to get all the 400 cars, and we sold them off. So I think that was another interesting story how either exclusively digital or a good combination of physical and digital, which we call phygital, really helped us in taking the brand further.
Indeed, phygital is the way to go. And also, just to get an idea, in Kia's case, what percentage of your sales is now like end-to-end the digital in terms of the consumer journey from tapping the consumer to the final transaction, maybe?
So I will not give a figure for that, but as Naveen said, there are two very important aspects of the journey, which is a test drive and a delivery which cannot be replaced. But I was thinking aloud because the subject was digital, that how can I replace a test drive with... So a simple thought is, before the car gets launched, there are many journalists or many experts who drive the car, right? And they give their views, and they are experts in their respective fields. So if I'm a consumer and I trust a journalist A or a journalist B or a consumer A, consumer B, or there are certain websites where consumer give their first-hand experience, I really need
test drive job is taken care of.
It has been taken care of. Frankly, if I trust these guys, I don't need to go down and experience the car.
Then I just need to decide on the color and the trim,
yeah,
maybe.
but it is frankly the second most involved purchase in your lifetime, and a lot of money goes behind that. So you still want to experience it. But even today, when I look at and I discuss with dealers, and I think we have a lot of dealer partners there. Even today, the test drive percentage, even for a walk-in, is not more than 70 or at best 80%. There are still 20 to 30% customers who still, and maybe Naveen can throw more light on that. He's an expert in this field. Because they say, boss, मैंने गाड़ी drive कर लिया, मेरे दोस्त के पास गाड़ी है, I've driven the car, I don't want to drive it. So even for a walk-in, if it is not more than 70, 80%, you can't expect a telephonic or a digital lead to go beyond certain percentage. So there are still, I would say, on the whole, the percentage is about 60%. So which means still 40% customers are buying cars, or maybe, I'm looking more from an inquiry perspective, not from a retail perspective. But there are certain percentage, maybe 20 to 30% who buy cars without experiencing the test drive. So there is a possibility how you can do that. And even in terms of delivery, we have seen on the higher end of our cars, especially Carnival, and I've seen many customers now, they say, boss, I'm not coming for the delivery, you just deliver the car back home. So the car goes to their respective homes, and so if somebody has seen the Carnival test drive somewhere, he has not taken the test drive, he's not come to the showroom and got the car home for the delivery, it is actually a contactless this thing. So to give a number, maybe I'll not give here, but there's a possibility to go completely contactless. But right now, still customers feel, the touch and feel is still very, very important. I think still large percentage of customers are still they come to the showrooms, they want to touch and feel, and hence I don't see in near future the need for this going away. Of course, it has reduced from what it used to be, but still people...
I think beyond a point, it may not drop further, considering
right.
that it's a very touch and feel story, the whole car is acquiring a car.
Yeah.
So on that note, Baneshwar, I would like to, while like Kia and Lexus, you play in the same passenger vehicle, but in Mahindra's case, the story is slightly different. You are, when it comes to passenger vehicles, exclusively SUV. Now, in a repositioned Mahindra, the true blue SUV, and also now with electric journey starting. But at the same time, you have a very strong kind of presence, or the constituency of rural market is very, very crucial for you, be it for your pickups or be it even for passenger vehicles, something like Bolero and things like that. So in such a scenario where the spectrum is much wider than a Kia and definitely than a Lexus, because it's a totally different story. How are you leveraging the digital technologies? If you can just share some anecdotes, maybe.
Thanks, Sumantra, for inviting me.
Close.
Yeah. So the way I would like to answer your question into multiple different stages of consumer journey that I see, and rightly said, if you look at the data today, the dealership walk-in has gone down from an average 4.3 to 2.1. Yeah, so that's the impact of digitization, which has enabled customers to come to a dealership more informed. And when they come to a dealership more informed, it is our responsibility to elevate their experience. Yeah, so there are 4 stages in which Mahindra has kind of broken the digital journey, which is the stage where customer is in an exploratory stage, where he is looking at different brands, trying to narrow down his choices. Yeah, and that's where, which I called omni-channel presence, that how do you capture, what is the interest level of customers. I think that's an area which requires a lot of progression to happen over a period of time. And if we are able to build a technology which we are working upon through a lot of AIs, through a lot of understanding of consumer, that what kind of consumption pattern in the exploratory stage, so that when they come to your showroom, and especially for a brand like Mahindra, the products that we make is, and the way we communicate is, it's an extension of one's lifestyle. It's, people are very, very passionately associated with the product that they are buying. So that's an area that we are working upon to join the dots and get the right information so that the moment customer is walking to our showroom or getting in touch with our contact center, we have information about the customers.
So you profile him better, basically.
Yeah. So that's an area I think digitization is helping us, evolve with a better understanding of our consumer who is walking in. Then the other thing that we are developing and we have done with 400 is this entire metaverse piece. And if you see that, out of the journey of consumer from an exploration to delivery, there are 26 important touch points. And out of that, almost close to 21 points have got digitized. And as my seniors, they have spoken about that, test drive and delivery still remains a piece which people wants to do and wants to do it very, very rigorously. However, I tend to agree, sir. Walk-in we are seeing, you say 70%, we are seeing somewhere close to around 60-65% of people are because of some of the brands it is still lower, like we have a few of legacy brands where it is still lower, but new products, we see somewhere close to 80% people are wanting test drives. So the way I link is that if you look at this entire metaverse piece which is happening, which is right now, we want to evolve it. Today it's on a 2D platform, so you go, you can feel, you can see, you can touch, you can literally feel that you are in the showroom. That's another technology which is evolving and we have launched it with 400. There is an immersive 3D metaverse that we are working upon, okay, which is going to take the experience to the next level along with some simulation.
Would it also kind of then replace, perhaps, no, or make it not replace, maybe make it redundant to have such at least the current level of physical relationships?
Yeah.
Maybe?
So coming to that, so earlier, if you look at the trend, bigger the better. Okay. Now the trend is that you need to be relevantly present with most of the information that you can provide, not that you require bigger stores. And last year we have added close to 150 cube outlets, which is
a small format.
Yeah, small format with high-end digitization. When
you say small format, what is the number of display cars?
900 to 1,000 square feet.
As compared to?
As compared to 3,000-4,000 square feet of showroom area. So we have created a combination of large format and small format. Small format to be relevant in terms of all digitized information. Customer can do mirroring, can explore vehicle, can get into the vehicle, which I was talking about. In fact, if you look at, some years back, we had created an immersive environment in the showroom where customer could have transported himself into the vehicle and feel the vehicle if he wants to feel it being in the showroom. So it's an evolving journey, and now we have felt that the next level is how do we build this metaverse content so that people can get an immersive 3D experience, plus this smaller formats which gives us reach, which gives us more information. Then we are creating some of the very high-end call to experts, okay,
right,
so that people can get information what they want. And coming to the last leg, which is the delivery, I believe the other piece that can be looked at where people want the delivery to be at home is the entire home installation piece, that how do you install the vehicle at home. I think that will be the next level where we can say that we have truly digitized the entire customer journey. And if anybody would want to have, who doesn't want to visit a showroom, I think in the entire end-to-end process, minus the test drive and delivery, could be done. Now coming to your second question, which is how we are looking at rural and our commercial product. There we see a huge penetration of, leads coming in. Huge penetration of leads coming as a requirement for the commercial vehicle customers as well.
Leads coming through the digital route, you mean?
Yeah. Digital platform, we are seeing leads coming in. However, the conversion is on a lower side. So there also we are trying to see how do we balance what kind of level of digitization so that we make that journey relevant to those customers with the relevant information. Like we are trying to create an OPECO which will be visible to customer, where he can do his operating cost calculation and arrive at how his. Then in the commercial vehicle we have launched the IMAX technology, through which it's like connected car of personnel in commercial.
I see. Okay. Good to know about these developments, and I'm sure with things like metaverse and ChatGPT, it will again take this whole digitalization trend to altogether new, not only to a new level, but add very interesting dimensions to the whole game. Coming to, all these discussions were related primarily to passenger vehicles, and you also touched briefly about commercial vehicles. But Kaushik, the impact that digitalization trend is making on the CV space, how is it in that scenario, and especially in the pre-owned commercial vehicles? And how are you leveraging that? Do you see value in investing in digital technologies?
So if you actually look at commercial vehicles specifically, I think we've been either fortunate or unfortunate of being a fast follower. So when it comes to digitalization, for example, I think the car industry is significantly ahead in comparison to the others. If you take EV, for example, I think both two-wheelers and passenger cars are going to be more entrenched into that space before CVs have to get into that space also. So if you ask me, I would probably break this up into a couple of important drivers. The first driver is actually the OEMs. So we are seeing very advanced telematics modules that are coming into commercial vehicles. So these modules are able to predict future failures. These modules are able to figure out when sensors are going wrong. These modules are able to support our technicians in terms of repairing those products much more efficiently. So that's a major driver as far as we are concerned. Another major driver is also the fact that real-time information about fuel consumption, real-time information about the cost of operation is actually going to the operator himself. A third is that today our customers are able to go in and book appointments both for their services and also order parts through the app that's provided by the OEM. The second is the change in our customer profile itself. So if you look at the second generation of customers have started coming into our industry, and I would call them the Swiggy and the Zepto generation, where if a biryani can be delivered in 10 minutes, the question they're asking is, why is it taking you 2 hours to get a technician to my vehicle, even if it's a remote location? Or why is it taking more than 4 hours for you to repair and let the vehicle out? Because uptime is very important as far as the commercial vehicle customer is concerned. So considering both of these, I think the focus as far as digitization is concerned from the dealer perspective has been one on discovering the customer and also providing relevant content. So what I mean by that is they're trying to augment the virtual stores that are already available at the OEM by providing appropriate content at the local level. So this would mean working with local influencers, because on the commercial vehicle side, I think it's not as easy getting a few journalists to write about it. I think you have to go to local influencers at those particular locations. If it's a tipper belt, you've got to figure out a tipper influencer in that particular belt to get them to write about it or make a video about it. The second is being more aggressive on the social media platforms, which commercial vehicle dealers have not been very aggressive in the past. And the third and most challenging part for the commercial vehicle dealers and possibly most dealers in this gathering is how do you integrate your offerings to what is already available at the OEM also, so that it is a more homogeneous experience as far as the customer is concerned, because that's a real challenge to actually solve as we move into this mode of digitization. So that would be on the CV side. In terms of the use side, what I would say is prior to the pandemic, the used industry, whether it's commercial vehicles or cars, was actually ripe for disruption. What I mean by that is a new car, with the exception of the color or the features, is pretty much the same. But every used car is different. Every used truck is different. It runs a different kilometer. The damages are different. The tires are of different condition. So that was one major challenge. Another major challenge was to identify where those assets were available. Earlier, it was very difficult for you to figure that out. Third, are you paying the right price for that particular asset? Information was not available. So all these challenges being there, when you added digitization on top of that, it just accelerated the journey. And I think it has accelerated it for the good, because I think one of the big drivers in terms of car sales being where it is today is also the fact that the used car industry has matured to a level where it can start absorbing all these assets that are coming out of the first owners. So what happened post-pandemic is that now we have great catalogs. We have both at the dealer perspective and also Cars24 and all these different platforms. You've got great platforms that give you a lot of information. The second, earlier inspections were done, reports were very detailed. It was very difficult to share information with the customer. Today, after digitization, it's very, very easy. You go in, you pull a PDF down, very easy for you to see what the condition of the asset is. Then the third thing also was, earlier it was very difficult to understand who you could trust and who you could not trust. So let's say there are a lot of local dealers, even car dealers that have used asset sales. That was also a challenge. Today with ratings online on Just Dial or Google, it's so much more easier for you to do that. So I think all this is actually accelerate the transition on the used vehicle side also.
Indeed. And talking about used vehicles, let me bring in the other Naveen in the panel, Naveen Saraugi. He's quite a well-known personality in the automotive retail business, but for the benefit of everyone, his background is that, he's a second generation of a family which is one of the first set of dealers, Maruti dealers in the country. And it started off in Guwahati in Assam, and which is where I also belong to, and which is that the Bimal name is quite familiar. I've known it since my school days. And so he is someone who has seen the entire transition of the about all the dynamics in the automotive retail space, definitely digitalization, which himself as a second generation entrepreneur is adopting. And he, by the way, has also started a pre-owned business, and which he says he takes pride in the fact that he has the country's largest pre-owned car showroom in Bengaluru. And so just wanted to understand from you in terms of the technology, digital technology adoption in the pre-owned space. And as Kaushik was also mentioning, it really accelerated a lot of things and also brought in a lot of convenience. But in the car side, how are you adopting it, and how current scenario and in the foreseeable future, how is it going to change?
Thank you. The whole digitization is a big enabler. You have to look from that perspective of how it is enabling us to do business more conveniently, from the perspective of customers as well as from the perspective of the dealers or the users. Now, on the used car or the used car side, the listing space has become very, very convenient. Now you can list the car is in as good as a condition as it can get. Yes, it requires a lot of technology intervention there, but yes, you can really make it much more accessible to the customer, much more easier for the customer to choose from. On the supply side, yes, we can use it for aggregating cars, or you can use the different platforms that are available to aggregate the cars. And on the inspection side, I think one of the things that can be done is to use technology to assess the car much better in terms of technical capabilities, in terms of the body inspection using AI tools to look at the kind of damages that are existing on the vehicle, as well as um, the different components of the car inside out. Now, where it is going to be even more interesting is where we can integrate vehicle history, where we can integrate insurance history into the as a stack that is available. It will it will improve the trust and transparency that can be further provided to the used car buyers. So, but on the whole, finally, it will come down to, meeting a customer face to face and shaking hands on it to convince him to put the money down. That does not change, and that will happen. Look in the eye and talk about
So
that.
you're saying that this digital technology will perhaps help you not only to kind of collate information, disseminate information to a larger audience, and get more footfalls, bring more
Absolutely.
footfalls, but
Absolutely.
then once the handshake happens, then it has to be all physical.
Absolutely.
Right.
So the complete journey of buying a used car entirely online is a little bit far-fetched right now. Very, very one in few would probably end up doing that, but mostly it's going to be physical.
Right.
And the whole used business starts with a level of distrust that is there in the market. It's getting organized, it's getting better by the day, but still the consumer fears a lot before putting his
And
money
comfort
down.
factor is still not. I
Absolutely,
mean, there's still
yeah.
room for that comfort factor to reach a
Yes.
certain level of certain stage wherein people that there's a peace of mind, and
Yeah.
that okay, I'm getting into a deal which I close my eyes and
Absolutely.
go ahead.
Absolutely.
Hardeep, since we're talking about technology, and be it at a vehicle or at a dealership, technology comes at a cost. So with more and more technology being adopted at the retail, this whole retail and after sales, so how is the cost structure being kind of designed or shared between OEMs and dealer partners? Because and technology also changes much faster, so you need to keep yourself up to speed.
I think at the end of the day, we need to look at what is the cost-benefit analysis, right? If we are putting X amount of money in that, and and you're getting multiple benefits out of that, it makes more sense. For example, I gave you example of pick and drop, right? When consumer finds that, oh, it's very easy, I'll just give a call and somebody will come and pick my car. He's not. Sometimes you tend to delay. Okay, I'll find one day when I will go to the workshop, and at the end of it, you delay it by, let's say, 10, 15 days. Your cycle moves on. But when there's a pick and drop service, and he finds it very convenient, I can look on the tab. He doesn't delay it. He says, okay, can you pick my car? So what happens is you have preponed the servicing by 10, 15 days, and hence the cycle also improves further, right? I think the technology is actually enabling a lot of people to make faster decisions, and that's the whole objective of bringing in technology. It's a convenience, but I think very importantly, it helps consumer make a faster decision, right? And which helps all of us, because if customer makes faster decision, he'll go for service faster, he'll buy cars faster, and hence the cash flows are faster. So I think that's the benefit. In terms of cost sharing, how I look at it is that at the end of the day, it's the dealer profitability which is very, very important, right? If the dealer profitability is under stress, I would probably go for a higher contribution. But if the overall profitability is going well, maybe I'll ask the dealer to invest. So it is always a situation. For example, last 2 years probably has been the best in the industry. So probably we didn't go for any kind of contribution. But I remember when the COVID hit and the volume suddenly went down, we came out with a so it was not only for digitization, but for the overall profitability and sustenance of the dealerships. And I think many manufacturers came forward during those times to make sure the dealers are sustained and they are making profit and they're making money and they are holding themselves up. But during last 2 years, because the profits have been great, so probably we will not look at that. So when times come, I think that's when manufacturers start looking at it. And obviously, when you do some kind of experimentation or when the investment is very high, so for example, we made a dealer which was very big and a lot of investment, we went for kind of a cost sharing. So
see.
I think at
So
the end of the day,
you're saying it's dynamic and also
Yeah,
depends
that's
on
right.
case by
Yeah,
case. So
that's
in,
right,
in
yes.
scenario where it has a good impact on the positive, strong
Yeah.
positive impact on profitability,
Yeah.
then the dealer takes up the burden and or
True.
the investment, and in other cases you step in.
And very importantly, the software development is done by the OEM. For example, if I'm creating a software where you can track your cars, or the software where you can doing an online booking, or a software where you are viewing your car, that is in any case invested by the OEM. So
Right.
what dealer invests is in hardware, and the development cost lies with the OEM. Yeah.
Naveen Saraugi, the dealer's perspective on this in terms of, because it's you have to kind of offer the offer the technology to the consumer and enable the consumer to going to kind of experience that technology, and you also have to make. So what is your perspective on this?
I think we have to offer new technologies to customer to get them excited about the brand, get them excited about the cars. And yeah, the new technologies are there. The hardware is expensive, and I think what we need to look at is the soft content that is required to use these hardware for a longer time. It's very easy to become excited about a certain new product at one point of time and just move ahead with it. And these becomes, kind of a junk at the dealership, which adds no value. So what we need to ensure is that to look at hardware which can, go the long run, as well as the content should be more easily available to be able to use these. So for example, the VR hardware that we use at the dealership, we are able to use it very nicely at the rural outlets, for example, to be able to showcase a car like a Grand Vitara, for example, to a rural customer. But then, as long as we continue to get good content for that, it keeps relevant. Otherwise, at a dealership, it's very easy to lose interest in things like this once you move
And
on
also
to different
especially
products.
since the model life cycles are shrinking every passing year. So you need to kind of keep updating the content and make it relevant still. Naveen Soni, I'm talking about. In terms of the whole digitalization or digital journey, from the Lexus perspective, how different is it from what is happening in Japan and what's happening in India? Because here, the appetite for any technology is huge, and Japan, relatively speaking, it's more conservative, and they believe in the more traditional way of doing things, and especially when it comes to a brand and brand which is rooted in the local culture so deeply.
So I would say like this, that that at the heart of it, everything is the same. At the heart of it, everything is the same. Technology is an enabler, like my friend said. It is basically, technology will help you to collect the dots. Okay, technology will never help you so much. Now artificial intelligence is there to connect the dots. To connect the dots, you require human intelligence. You require people who are sitting and understanding the data points which are thrown in front of them, right? So yes, India is a young country, has a huge appetite for technology, and the newer generation with the new shift. I think in the previous session it was being discussed that there's a separate set of customers emerging. For example, EVs, okay? Their trigger points are different, their passion points are different, their questions are different, so on and so forth. So all that I'm trying to say is that, that we can do a lot with technology, provided we know how to use it. Otherwise, it's just a piece of information that is thrown at you. That is the whole thing. Whether it is Japan or whether it is in India, for us it is back to the future. That's the only way we will grow, because at the root of it, as I said earlier, it's all about customer sentiment, which does not change whether you are in Japan or whether in India.
Baneswar, since we are now coming to the close of this session, and one perspective I wanted to get from you is, there is also this emerging trend of D2C, direct to customer. And digital technologies is facilitating that. And you see, let's say in the case of automobile industry, someone like Ola has totally bypassed the whole dealership chunk of the whole pie. And then if you look at the passenger cars, if you look at the top end, someone like Mercedes-Benz has gone what they call it the retail of the future. And they have kind of, the dealers remain, but their role has changed. They become more agents than dealers. So do you think such a scenario could kind of progress into the more mainstream part of the passenger vehicle segment, and therefore it could also perhaps lead to some consolidation in the existing overall retail industry?
No, so I would like to answer this. It's a strategy that you take. Okay, so high-end manufacturer like Mercedes have decided to take a strategy because there are certain things that they felt that they need to create that kind of business model because of a lot of other factors which they realized. But as far as M&M is concerned, we are very clear. We are building technology which is going to enable, if a customer is visiting either a small outlet or a bigger format, we understand that customer better and be able to serve the customer better. If the customer doesn't want to come to the showroom and he wants to do a complete interaction online, then we are building that platform. But our strategy is to have a mix of digital and have a mix of physical format and serve through our dealers. There could be situations where we are serving direct to customer, and it is not that we are not doing, we are doing it. Certain very key accounts, certain very high volume which are repetitive in nature, there is a direct transaction also happens, but that's a very insignificant part of our business. Our business model and strategy, the way we want to serve our customer is through our dealers. So that is how I would like to put across.
Hardeep, your thoughts on this? This whole digital technology is also enabling this whole D2C concept, even to some, at least to some limited extent in the automotive space. Therefore, do you see merit in kind of in that approach, and perhaps therefore there could be some resultant impact in the overall kind of structure or the entire automotive retailing industry?
So purely from the perspective of taking an example of Mercedes-Benz, so I think from a digitization perspective, it doesn't change anything because it is only, I would say, the stock which is managed directly by the manufacturer. Otherwise, the entire process remains the same. So I think the time when they looked at this project was from a perspective when dealers there were a lot of discounting amongst the dealerships, there were a lot of stocks which were there with the dealerships, and dealerships were losing money. Even company had to dole out a lot of offers to the consumer, to the dealers, and hence it was a lose-lose proposition at that point in time. But by taking care of the stocks and also making sure the price parity across all the consumers, I think it has been a win-win both for the dealers as well as the manufacturer. So I think it has worked well. And also I think the times changed suddenly because COVID came in and the whole equation of discounts and stocks were taken care of. I think this will be a true test once we come back to the real normal, where there is again the more supply than the demand. I think we will have a true test of that model which has been used. Right now, I would say it is working well. If it works well for another couple of years, I think we can say it is a success. But purely from a digital perspective, I think there would be no change from my perspective.
Yes, and as you said, it will not. You'll really stand the test of time. We'll get to know about the viability of the model once after a couple of years. But the triggers of that is also to a good extent applicable to the mainstream market also. Therefore, could it be something that perhaps you could also explore at some point?
See, I think when it comes to volumes, to manage such huge stocks, I think so. There's nothing that is impossible, but I think it is going to be very, very difficult to manage in a mass manufacturer that kind of a situation. And I've not seen, I think, wherever it has happened in the luxury space so far, not in the mass manufacturer. So I think it is going to be quite tricky in that sense. let's see if somebody takes a lead on that.
Kaushik, and the next wave of digital technologies, digitalization in the CV space, especially when it comes at the marketplace. What are the trends that you foresee?
So a lot of what we are seeing in cars, I think what we are really looking for is, electrification is a major theme. And to be honest, I think in CVs we are really confused. We don't know if the next wave is going to be CNG, electrification, LNG. So lots of technologies, hydrogen being talked about. So technology is a major challenge, and I think with every new technology that's coming in, digitization to access the technology becomes more challenging. The second thing is, I think customers for us are becoming more and more demanding. I think they are looking at total cost of ownership, just like what was discussed in the electric vehicle session. So they're really demanding lower cost of ownership, and for us to get to lower cost of ownership, we need to have complete visibility into the entire life cycle of the commercial vehicle, and that I think is going to be the big focus as far as digitization is going to be concerned in CVs.
Okay, with that we come to the last part of this session, and I would like to invite the audience to pose their questions in case they have any. I see the gentleman raising a hand there. Can the mic reach him, please? Introduce yourself, who the question is for, and kindly keep it crisp. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Udyan here, and my question is for the whole panel. In terms of metaverse, it's a topic I've been following very closely even before automobile industry picked it up. Since the past 5 years, we saw how the metaverse space is developing. 2-3 years back, Facebook changed their name to Meta. I see the automobile industry as a whole picking up the metaverse. All the OEMs are doing it. But I see Mahindra and, since you're on the panel here, sir, many other brands, they're just doing it from like a touch point, customer touch point perspective. Only Hyundai, we see, has paired with Roblox and doing it in a more brand awareness, getting them while they're young sort of space. So are other OEMs also exploring that, or is it only going to be like a customer journey, customer touch point in the retail bit?
Yeah, so I did mention that, we started with 400 and as a part of a consumer journey to give the experience, but we have a much to build upon, and that entire strategy piece is being worked upon, where we want to use this technology, beyond just the customer journey across the entire experience. And we are talking about a next level, which is kind of doing it little more immersive, 3D, even kind of connecting it with some simulation where people cannot, because a lot of our cars, the kind of experience that we talk about is not doable in a simple test drive, right? The 4x4 and all those stuff, which if at all we want to give, how do we do it? Yeah. So there is a complete block that we are building on this metaverse piece, and as we move forward, I'm supposed to speak to a certain extent on this. So as we move along, you will see a lot on this from the Mahindra coming in.
Right, sir.
Hardeep,
So just one small
Yeah.
iteration to this. So will it still be enclosed, like you'll have your own dedicated space, like how MG is doing it on a much more vast level? Or will it be like, again, with a third party like Roblox, where you can have people beyond the scape of Mahindra, or like beyond, like a particular geographical space across like the world? Like Roblox is, accessible to everybody.
No,
Again, third party or just your own asset is what I wanted to understand.
Okay, so I'm not clear on the question, but from an access point of view, everybody can access. This is going to be available in our dealership. This is going to be available online. But if you could explain the question better, what do you mean by with a third party?
So it'll be like a virtual shared space where you will be maybe sponsoring it for a week, or maybe, having your own space. It'll be like you're renting out a space in somebody else's land, instead of maybe giving somebody access to it on your website or on a particular application.
Yeah, we are doing on our own right now.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
no plans for like a third
No, no,
party.
I'm right now, the information that is available with me is that we are doing on our own.
I see.
But if there is any development, maybe we'll come back on your question that you are asking.
Right,
But right now we are doing on our own.
And just one last part to this. In terms of your customer journey, how many percentage of people are actually using your configurators or your metaverse? Like, if you're closing like, let's say 100 sales, what percentage of it are actually touching that point? What is like the engagement like?
Yeah, so we have launched with 400. So to be very honest with you, I do not have a number right now with me, but the usage is on a lower side. Yeah, but the moment we bring this on our ICE platform, the usage will multiply. So we are working to bring it on Scorpio and we are working to bring it on 700 with much more, kind of capabilities as far as the Meta platform is concerned. So I'm sure the usage is going to go up, but right now on 400 the usage is little muted.
Any other question from the crowd?
Good evening, everyone. Like Mr. Barar said, ki digital is not only helping in sales, but also helping in a service. Because of digital, there is seamless experience. People can book a pick and drop, and that is making sure that the 30% or today the 30% people from 10% to 40% people taking this pick up and drop, and which is changing the habit. People are going more on timely service. Now, because my name is Nikhil and I represent Ready Assist, so I also like to understand what as a OEM you think on a breakdown issues, how the breakdown will be managed in future through digital platform, how digital your tech will play a role to enhance this experience, because RSA in India or breakdown standard in India is still more of a legacy-based model, which is still going from last 10-15 years. We as a company trying to do a lot of innovation, but what as a OEM you think and how it can contribute to give more convenience to the customer? Thank you.
I would request
think
both
this is-
Hardeep to give the kind of volume segment perspective, and after that maybe Naveen
Yeah,
can give
it's
the
for all.
luxury.
I think unfortunately, digital is going to be your big competitor because the predictive maintenance, which is going to kick in with all the technology, all the digitization, people will get to know much in advance what kind of breakdown is going to happen in their vehicle, and hence they will go to the service station far more in advance. And hence, from a RSA perspective, RSA kicks in when there is a sudden breakdown or for that matter accident. So accidents obviously will also reduce because with the ADAS technology and the lot of sensors in the cars, I think the digital technology will take care both of the predictive maintenance and also in terms of accident. So you will see, and that's my perspective, you will see a dip from that perspective. So technology is really your competitor in that sense.
Naveen, would you like to share your perspective on no, your turn.
Okay.
Yeah, from a luxury, no?
Yeah, so see, it's like this that for us in the luxury car space, last year we calculated our retention rates, which means that is the customer coming back to us. More than 96% of the customers did come back to us because of few reasons. Because there's hardly anything available in the aftermarket. Plus, the mindset of the customer who's buying this kind of a vehicle would not like to take his vehicle outside, right? Technology is definitely going to be an enabler, but more importantly, how he's taking care of his vehicle has an impact on this. Just to give you a perspective, now this may not be very appealing to you. I shared business card with your colleague. Maybe she's not interested in meeting me after this. When we were currently talking to our RSA agent last year, he voluntarily came up and said that since we are not being used, he cut down the cost by 1/3 and increased the area and increase the kind of service parameters that we were wanting to discuss with them. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it's how you take care of the vehicle is getting matured. Aftermarket is slowing down. So preventive maintenance is taking precedence over breakdown maintenance.
Sumitra, I'll just add on the CV space also.
Yeah,
so in the CV space, what we are seeing is all the OEMs are actually setting up control centers. These control centers monitor all the vehicles that are fitted with telematics 24/7. They are able to predict failures in advance, support the drivers in advance. So like what the panelists were also saying, our expectation also is that this should contribute to lower number of breakdowns in the future.
Any last question? Yeah, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sharvik Shah here. We spoke about used car and technology to be used in used car sales. We all know that used car business is going to be a very progressive business, and with the new laws coming in, a lot of it is going to shift towards the more organized sector than being in the unorganized sector. Mr. Saraugi, you also said that a lot of technology is getting collated, and the physical, of course, is needed. But I think now the customers, with the help of technology, will take more informed decisions. But my question and a thought is that when we talk about the history of the vehicle coming in or the insurance coming in, do the OEMs look in the future with more organized businesses coming in to collaborate and get these histories on a common platform of technology, where as dealers we can take informed decisions when we buy and also sell these vehicles?
Absolutely. I think that's the need of the hour today, and as the organized players are becoming more efficient, it can be a paid subscription as well. So it can open up a revenue channel for OEMs if need be, but then it's required today to make a very informed decisions. The ticket sizes of cars are going up, and you don't want to buy a 15, 20, 30 lakh rupee car without knowing the history of that car. There's a flooding issue, there's an accidented issue, or there could be many more electronics that could have gone wrong. So yes, absolutely required.
Great. Okay, we have run out of time, but if it's...
Yeah, just very brief. My
yeah,
name is Srikanth from the 3D printing industry, very much observed industry. So with the used cars and with a lot of digital transformation happening, we are receiving a lot of files now from the OEMs for rapid prototyping, 3D printing of parts. So how is this going to affect the aftermarket industry in the years to come? We're seeing that in the Europe it's happening, but how is it in the Indian industry?
When the manufacturer is supplying all the parts and accessories, there's no way that this will be required. Even for the cars which are phased out at end of life cycle, manufacturer is supposed to keep the parts for the next 10 years, right? And after 25 years, there is no way that car is going to remain. But yes, in case you have some imported cars here where getting the part to India is much slower and takes a huge lead time, and then there are duties on top of that, I can see a scope there. Or wherever the parts availability is an issue, I think that surely makes a case study for this. But this is very, very unique.
Very, very.
I think nobody has really seen...
DC design does that. DC Chabriar or
so that
styling.
That means it's more into a customization
Correct.
space. I think for customization, then we need to look at what kind of and even today I am sure they are doing something similar. Of course, not the 3D printing, but they have wherewithal to create those parts. So yes, in customization, I can see a lot of scope for that. Surely.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think customization would and tailor making of certain projects. I think that will perhaps there could be some adoption of this technology.
Yeah, we can even
and
put a...
as Hardeep said, in some cases where it's very it's not so viable to kind of import and fit the part perhaps in this case. But I think in terms of the regular aftermarket, I think there won't be any impact on that. But interesting technology adoption of additive manufacturing. And I'm sure, especially in prototyping, it's being utilized more.
Yeah,
and
we already served that industry quite a bit. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being such a wonderful audience. And to all our esteemed panelists, a big round of applause for them, please.